This Teresa Heinz Kerry stuff and the insult at Laura Bush, Charles Krauthammer got closest to this. In fact, he nailed this yesterday. So Teresa comes out in an interview and says, well, you've all heard it, that Laura Bush never had a real job since she grew up. And there was a little reaction to that, so Teresa apologized and said, well, no, I forgot she was a teacher and that's important work. And left out the fact that being a mother is also work. And the Bush administration did not really accept this apology. They went on the attack on this, and I think for very good reason. And what Mr. Krauthammer is additionally saying here is that everything that happens in this world is about her, in Teresa Heinz Kerry's mindset. This was a condescending comment as much as was an insult. This was an I am better than she is comment. Well, she's nothing but a teacher. She's nothing but a mother. But look at who I am and look at what I have done. Well, you're nothing but the latest target of a gigolo, Ms. Kerry. You are just the latest target of a gigolo is what you are. And you've fallen hook, line, and sinker for the latest gigolo to come along, and his name is John Kerry. If we want to talk about people who have not had real jobs, can we talk about your husband, madam? You want to go out there, you want to talk real jobs. You know, working for the government, a lot of people don't consider it to be a real job. And your husband's out there claiming to have all this experience and all of this and that. But what he's really done is glommed on the powerful people and people wealthier than he is and has hitched his wagon to them and followed them along wherever they're going and then tried to take over when he got there. So here you have another illustration, folks, of just who American liberals are today. They're the exact opposite of what they're portrayed. These are the people who claim to have the interests of the downtrodden, and you got John Kerry out there saying he's going to stand up for the working people, he's going to stand up for the middle class. And his wife, and Mr. Krauthammer is exactly right. The initial reaction before the prepared statement comes out, his wife betrays who she really is and who all liberals are today in their position. They're elitists sitting above everyone else, looking down on everybody else in a condescending way, thinking everybody else is stupid and dumb and incompetent and incapable, and not able to do anything in life without the help and guidance of these paternalistic liberals. Meanwhile, who is Teresa Heinz Kerry? Why do we even know who she is? What has she accomplished in her life to sit there above everyone else and sit in judgment? Particularly if Laura Bush, who never did anything to anybody, except maybe to help them. Laura Bush does not inspire negative feelings in anybody, except for some reason the Kerry campaign. And then you have to ask yourself, what is this condescending remark that they happen to make about Dick Cheney's daughter? And then you go back and look at all of the mean-spirited stuff that's been aimed at George W. Bush and conservatives throughout this campaign, and you have to ask yourself, love is in the air? This is the party of big compassion and big-heartedness? This is the party that cares and tolerates. It's just the exact opposite. These are the most exclusively elitist. You're not one of us. You don't count people. Us against them crowd that I've come across in my career as a premier media figure in America. I want to clarify something Mr. Krauthammer said that I profusely agreed with. And that is, he said, what is really inside the snobbery of the very, very rich. Here's a woman who thinks a Texas teacher, how de class. A real job is marrying a very rich man and spending the rest of your life giving away the money you never made a penny of yourself. That's a real job. Now, there are a lot of people out there who are rich and who do not fall into the category of Teresa Heinz Kerry. And that's another point that I want to make, because the Democrats who are consistently running down the rich, it's the Democrats who are creating hatred and envy throughout our society by targeting the rich and getting the middle class to dislike the rich. There are two kinds of rich. The very, very rich that Mr. Krauthammer is talking about are people like Teresa Heinz Kerry, who never had to do a day's work to get it. All she did was marry it, then inherit it, now gives it away to a bunch of ultra-left-wing wackos, and she considers herself superior to everybody. There are other rich people like me who work for it each and every day, and if I didn't, I wouldn't be. And I pay every bit of tax I'm supposed to pay, far more than the 12.8% that the Supremo Teresa Heinz Kerry and her gigolo husband pay. twice, 3 times as much the rate that they pay, ladies and gentlemen, despite hearing all my life that people like me are not paying the fair share when most of the quote-unquote rich in this country earn it. They don't inherit it. They don't cheat people out of it. And it's getting to the point here, where it is becoming obvious, I think, to one and all, that whatever people think of George W. Bush, they don't have one negative feeling about Laura Bush at all, unless they're Bill Maher, who calls her a robot all the time on his show, or they're the Michael Moore types, these pure fringe wacko extremists. But Laura Bush never did anything to anybody. She doesn't even get partisan on the campaign trail. She's just the first lady. She's a model first lady. She loves her husband. She supports him. She supports the family. She supports their kids. She's very patriotic and she loves the country. And for this, she's derided. Because she was a librarian and teacher, she's derided by an uppity, snooty woman from Mozambique who hunted down a wealthy U.S. senator named John Heinz and married him and inherited his fortune when he unfortunately passed away in a plane crash over Pennsylvania. And he was a Republican, and gives his money away, not hers, his money to these fringe left-wing wacko causes and hitches up with some gigolo who won't even have the guts to admit that the 5 SUVs in the driveway in the ski chalet in Idaho are his. Oh, no, I don't own those. Those are the families. Oh, I just ride in them. How in the world? I don't understand how anybody has any respect for this guy. Here's a guy who just said in 1994 that American lives lost under the UN banner are honorable, but American lives lost under the U.S. flag are not? How can any American vote for this guy? I don't care what party affiliation you are. He says, and it's the one thing that's consistent on UN, El Supremo, United States, secondary, tertiary. He will global test. We damn well know what he meant by global test. It's the one thing is consistent on is that the U.S. is going to be subordinated to the UN, and he's going to go there, and they're going to have a say-so over where soldiers go and where they die, because sending us soldiers unilaterally anywhere doesn't even work anymore. It's not worth them dying in that regard. But if they die in a blue UN helmet under some phony UN flag, then that's honorable. You Democrats out there, what has happened to you? How can any American actually consider voting for a guy given that alone? Forget his wife. Forget her utter uppity snobbery. Forget his uppity snobbery. How in the name of what is sacred and traditional in this country can you actively, energetically support a guy who says American soldiers who die under the U.S. flag are not worth it? And that's not honorable. And when you couple that with what he said coming out of Vietnam, how can anybody seriously consider voting for this guy?